before I start whining about how my week's been going and ranting about how stuff just isn't made like it used to be, I want you to know there's a point to all of this. It's just unfortunately I've got to go through the whining and ranting to get there, but it's going to be worth your time. I think there's a valuable lesson in all of this. Okay. And if I seem like I'm in a little bit of a negative mood, it's well because I am. My truck broke down on the way to work this morning. Okay, so thankfully it's an easy fix, and I'm going again, and nothing serious, but I wasn't planning on being out of work today, and it's just not a good way to start your day. But it isn't just my truck that broke this week; it's everything's been breaking this week. And for those of you that don't keep up the channel, I'm remodeling a house here extensively. All right, but I've got my old house where I've been living for a while now, and everything there all of a sudden just started self-destructing. All right, so it started with the dishwasher. The impeller on the circulation pump, it just imploded, self-destructed. Okay, dishwasher wasn't that old, 2, maybe 3 years old. That shouldn't have happened. All right, kitchen sink, I had a drip. Okay, now I'm not going to say for how long, but I've been needing to fix it. So I thought, okay, well, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and fix that too. Well, while I was there and undoing the dishwasher plumbing, I realized I had another drip on the kitchen faucet, but it wasn't up top. It was underneath. It's a leak. Okay, that faucet wasn't that old. 10 years. Okay, and thankfully I caught it, and I was under there. But I ended up having to replace the whole faucet. Okay, it was a well-made faucet, brass parts mostly, except for in one place where the little sprayer on the side where it goes under and hooks underneath, it was plastic fitting that it threaded on to. And guess where the leak was? That plastic fitting. Okay, and it wasn't in the threads. Okay, so change it. And it had, this was an ordeal because I had to order a new pump motor for the impeller for the dishwasher, and then ran into that. And then where you cut the water cut off for the hot water, the little cheap valve there, yeah, you don't get usually but about 2 or 3, 4 cut-offs on those before it starts leaking, and it started leaking. Then the toilet, the float pump on it, all right, it's not shutting off like it should. All right, this is an annoying week. Okay, I'm getting things fixed, and ironically, at the exact same time, I was looking for shower valves for the house here. All right, the new house that I'm remodeling. And I go to Lowe's website, and I'm looking at all the pretty, shiny new shower setups, and I'm doing a shower and tub combination. Okay, and they've got all kind of nice, pretty shower setups for that, and, little switches and different pulses for the water, and then the little wand that, it's on the little cable that you shower everywhere with, and then it attaches right back in the center of the shower head. It's a magnet holding it in place, high-tech stuff. And then I went and read the reviews on that. Okay, and I went straight to the bad reviews because that's where you start. And the first one I read was, this is all plastic. It's about almost all of it. Even the little chrome spout that comes out in your tub, it was plastic. And the knobs to turn your water on and off, plastic. And the shower head, all of it was plastic. And I was thinking, I don't want plastic. I mean, I'm old-fashioned, okay. So that turned into its own quest because I need a shower valve. Okay, so I start watching YouTube videos and looking for reviews. I'm not a plumber. I don't know what's out there now. I know what used to be out there. All right, and what used to be out there ain't out there now. What used to be out there wasn't plastic. How about that? It's brass. All right, so anyway, I'm watching YouTube videos, and I see one, and it's Guy interviewing his father. His father was a plumber for 25, 30 years. And his father said, don't buy your faucets and things like that from the big box stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, all that. Buy them from a plumbing supply house. That the ones at Lowe's, Home Depot are plastic parts, and the one at the supply houses are brass. They're quality. And that made sense. Okay, just like with lawnmowers. John Deere lawnmowers. You can buy a John Deere lawnmower from a Lowe's or Home Depot, or you can buy one from a John Deere dealership. And I've always heard the ones from the dealership, they cost more, but they're better built. They have higher quality parts in them, metal gears in the transmission instead of plastic, whereas Lowe's, Home Depot, you get the plastic parts, that type of thing. All right, so I thought, okay, well, maybe the faucets and, shower stuff, all that same way. So I go to a plumbing supply store, the exact one that guy recommended in the video. And I go to the combination tub, shower, parts and valves and all that. And the very first one I click on, it, same brand as the one I looked at Lowe's, it's just a different name. And I said, okay, maybe they gave it a different name because it's better parts. And I click on the reviews, and the very first review is, this is all plastic. Okay, I guess it doesn't matter where you buy it from now. It's just going to be plastic. All right, so then I start, asking people I know that are into that. I got a good friend that the company he works for, they do HVAC and plumbing, and he buys all of their parts and stuff. So I was asking him, and he said, well, their head plumber that's been doing plumbing forever, he only uses Moen faucets. That's it. He can't stand any of the other brands. Okay, I'll look at Moen then. So I go to Moen's website. And they had this nice, pretty shower valve, or the cover was nice and pretty. And all it is was a selector. Well, you cut your water on, hot and cold, and then you select, tub spout or shower and a little wand, whatever. Just a selector switch. So, okay, this might be part of what I'm looking for here. I click on it, and then I click on the reviews, and the very first review I see, the guy says, I've been a plumber for 25 years, and I wouldn't use anything but Moen until I got this. It's plastic. It's cheap. I got to find another brand. All right, so now what do I do here? So I go to watching old YouTube videos, or just any YouTube video I can find. And I found just some odd video. I'll even link that below if I can even find the video again. But it was a guy, he was saying, okay, this no name you've never heard of, cheap shower valve setup. It's a good product. And then he pulls out a Moen one, and this is the old 3 knobs. Okay, so hot and cold, left and right, and then in the center, you turn the knob to go shower or the tub. Okay, and he pulls out the Moen one, and it was all brass on the body, but then the fitting sticking out with plastic. And then he pulls out this no-name brand that never even heard of, Pro Plus, I think it was. And the valves sticking out of this were brass. The body was all brass, and the tub spout thingy and the knobs, they were all metal. And I said, okay, that's what I want. Brass, metal. So I go to Amazon, and yeah, they don't make that no more. But I did see a review on it, and I clicked on the review, and it said all of the handles and knobs and the shower head and all that are just absolute pure junk, as cheap as pot metal there is. It's useless. But the shower valve itself is built like an absolute tank. And the valves in it, it used the same parts as another brand, very popular brand, so you can get replacement parts if you ever need to and all of that. So I thought, well, that's what I want. I don't care about the knobs and any of that stuff. I mean, you can replace that with whatever you want. I mean, all kinds of options. I want the valve itself quality. I want it built like a tank. So now I commenced to looking. And I found one brand new in the box on eBay. And anyway, I ordered it. But just the irony just hit me of, okay, I'm struggling to find what I'm looking for. And during this process, I was seriously questioning myself, okay? Do I need to quit being just stubborn about this and just go with the flow and get with the program and do what everybody else is doing and buy the nice, pretty, shiny, 15 functions, shower thing from a good brand, even though I know it's all plastic? Or do I just be my old stubborn self and keep looking and find one that's brass like I want, even if I have to go make it myself, including forging the brass? All right, well, luckily I found that, so problem solved. But I thought it was so ironic that my old faucet in the kitchen, the one piece on it that failed was the plastic fitting. Okay, so at the same time, while I'm dealing with all of this, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, darn, I'm struggling to keep up here. Things are breaking quicker than I can fix them at the moment. And I'm working pretty hard at the moment just to maintain where I'm at. Okay, now as far as spending wise, I'm spending a lot on the house here. Materials are high, all of that good stuff. And then I'm looking at people that I know that they don't even work and they're driving new vehicles. All right, I'm just old vehicles. They're dependable, but they're old. I see people not even working driving new vehicles, and they've got the latest iPhones and all of the shiny, pretty stuff with all of the bells and whistles. And I'm just thinking to myself, how do they do it? Okay, which kind of ties back into what I was wondering, do I just get with the program and go with the new stuff, go with the flow? Quit being so stubborn and antiquated in my thinking. But I think that kitchen faucet going out like it did in that one fitting, I don't know that was just a coincidence. I think that was the Lord telling me, be your old stubborn self, be honest. That's really what this is coming down to, is honesty. And in my heart, I know the cheap new stuff isn't the way to go. I don't care how many shiny, pretty bells and whistles it's got on it. If it's just chrome-plated plastic, it's just not going to last. Versus quality metals. Okay, so now let's apply this to the whole economy right now. I think all of us are struggling with a lot of things at the moment. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, is widening. And I think so many of us think we're part of the haves, and it's just because we hadn't been hit with a repair bill in a while, but it's coming. And that's when we're going to realize we're part of the have-nots. I mentioned last week a guy that I ran into at the store that he had just gotten a quote to replumb his house, all the new pipes, drain pipes, water pipes, and it's $30,000. Okay, I'm still in shock over that anybody would even put out a quote for $30,000 on that. But that seems like it's everything now. Okay, and I know what things are costing now because I'm remodeling a house. I know what materials are. I know what labor is. I know what everybody's charging, and I know how they're building things. Okay, so I've had some guys helping me that, carpenters or whatever trade, and friends, that type of stuff. And so I know what's going on out there. I know how poorly the houses are being built at the moment. I know what the codes are. I know what you can get away with and what you can't. And I think right now that our entire economy, our entire country, both figuratively and literally, is ready to just collapse in upon itself because the braces holding it all up, the beams holding it all up and holding it together are made out of plastic now. Okay, so my point to all of this, I think those of us that we quit looking at the shiny, flashy, pretty things, and we start looking under the hood and, okay, what is this made out of really? And we do that research and we look for value, for quality, good materials. I think we're going to be better off here in just a short amount of time than those that don't. So that's what I'm encouraging all of you to do, is just, we see something and you know it isn't right. You read the reviews and this is all plastic. Okay, just don't get it. Put in that research to find something that is quality and affordable. Okay, now I saw a lot of faucets out there, kitchen faucets, that $800, $900, $1,200. Okay, and I don't know that they're quality. I just know they were extremely expensive. The odds of those being quality is a lot higher than something that's $100. But they were designed to be fashionable, most of them. Okay, and almost none of it seems to be designed to last. Okay, so I think if we put in that effort, and the reason I say all of this is, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, we're not going to get hit with those repair bills that are just astronomical. Hopefully. Okay, that me being so stubborn on the shower faucet, or the shower valve, and it all brass and all that stuff, and I might have to change a washer in it. But I'm not worried about coming back in 5 years and realizing it was leaking inside of the wall where you can't see, and all of a sudden I've got water damage and I've got to replace floor joists. But I know a lot of people right now that are having to replace floor joists, and they're running into just huge expenses because of little things like that, because of junk. And I think as a nation, a long time ago we had an option. We could buy cheap or we could buy quality. And it was going to be expensive. Or, excuse me, it was going to cost more. We could afford it, but we still didn't want to spend it. So most of us opted for the cheap. We'll fast forward 10, 20 years now, and now the cheap stuff is expensive. Okay. That's why we have so many, that's why I'm seeing so many people right now, I know so many people that they're having to replace their flooring and floor joists and structural parts of their house and big money stuff. Because that valve that leaked, that they didn't know it for who knows how long. Okay, so yeah, something like that can make or break us. Okay, and we were just so spoiled for so long. This is all of us. We all chose the cheap stuff to some degree. If we put in that work now, and we start looking for those quality materials and value things that are going to last, we're not as likely. Anything's possible, but we're probably not going to run into those $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 repair bills in 5 years from now, in 10 years. Okay, and if things keep going up with inflation, and I have absolutely no doubt they will, because we're $37 trillion in debt now as a nation here in the U.S., we're going to get inflation. Don't worry about that. Are we going to be able to afford those $30,000, $40,000 repair bills in 5 or 10 years from now? And are they going to be $70,000 and $80,000 repair bills then? Right. So if we make those sacrifices now and put in that time and do that research, as painful as it is, and find those needle in a haystack products that are still made well, I think we're going to be a lot better off in the future than a lot of other people. So I hope that didn't just seem like all doom and gloom. That's not what I'm going for here. I think I'm going to be in good shape in 10 years from now, and 20 and 30 years from now when I finally finish the house here and that type of stuff. I think it's going to last a long time with no issues. My lifetime. Okay, I can't say the same for a lot of other people, especially, and this it's so rare that we see things on an individual level and then things on a large macro level just coming together like they are right now. Okay, when I talk about the things not being made well now, any of us that have dealt with the old stuff, we know that to be true. Okay, and if we look at the country as a whole, I mentioned Dave Collum before. Really insightful guy, fun to listen to, great speaker. Do a search on him on YouTube. Okay, if you want to hear about the economy and that type of thing, listen to him. But he said something I thought was really good. He was talking about GDP, gross domestic product, which that's the total value of all of the things, goods, and services a country produces. All right, so if you produce a lot of high value things, your gross domestic product's way up there. And if you're just, third world country and living in huts and no factories, your GDP's down here. All right, generally not a good place to be. Okay, he said that if you look at a blender made in the 1940s, it was built to last for pretty much ever. There are still blenders right now from the 1940s being used. If you look at a blender today, it might last a couple of years if you don't use it much. Okay, but the blender today, even adjusted for inflation, okay, it still has the same, it's valued the same in terms of gross domestic product as a blender made 40 years ago, even though the blender made then lasted forever and the one made today doesn't, because the people who do the calculations say the new blender has more functionality, so it makes it worth more. So it plays Margaritaville while you're using it until it breaks after you use it 7 or 8 times. Okay, so if you look at the economy as a whole, if almost all of our stuff is junk now, and it isn't going to last, and we've got to replace it every 5 or 10 years, and it causes however much other damage when it goes out and doesn't perform the function that it was designed to perform, such as not leaking inside of our walls and under our cabinets. Okay, how overvalued is our economy right now as far as gross domestic product? Because I don't believe the values of today's things. I don't believe they're worth what we're told they're worth if they don't perform their primary function. Okay, and that's important because of our debt. Okay, how much money we can borrow. Remember, when you borrow money, someone's lending the money. All right, well, the people lending the money, they're basing how much they loan you on how much you're worth, the value of your assets. And as a nation, our asset is our gross domestic product. Okay, so if it's overvalued by a lot, and we borrow a lot of money based on that, we're borrowing too much money. And right now we're $37 trillion in debt. Okay, so as a nation, we could get in a lot of trouble really quick just borrowing too much money. And then same on an individual level. Okay, we think we're in really good shape financially. Yeah, things are more expensive than they used to be. But then all of a sudden we have to get a new roof, or we have to replace our HVAC system, or all of that damage from that leaking faucet that we weren't aware of, and all of a sudden we've got to come up with $20,000 or $30,000. And then we realize, oops. Well, that's what happens to a nation when our infrastructure right now. How much does it cost to maintain everything? Right, and then we're putting in the same cheap not very good products everywhere. Our houses, okay, I know how houses are built now. I know how this is done. I've had people helping me and talking to a lot of people and all of that stuff, and I know all of the shortcuts they're taking now, and I know the houses now, even though the price of the houses are astronomical, I know they're not going to last like the houses built even 20 years ago. All right, so anyway, the economy as a whole, the shiny trinkets are going to break us, I think. But yeah, on an individual level, if we maintain that old-fashioned, stubborn mindset that I want quality materials, I don't care about the shiny, flashy things, I think, over the long term, we're going to be okay. And that's the message I want to pass on. Not the doom and gloom, not the people that aren't working, that are driving the new vehicles and got the new iPhones and all that. I don't think that's going to last very long, especially with inflation doing what it's doing. And I promise you, inflation, I ain't going to say promise, but trust me, inflation's going to get worse with the country being $37 trillion in debt. Okay. That no job and brand new everything, that part can't last. And those of us that are trying to maintain and get ahead and all of that stuff, if we go back to that value and simple and old-fashioned, I think we're going to be okay. So the point of all of this wasn't doom and gloom. It was to encourage you to seriously think about that value part. Maintaining what you have and buying things that can be maintained and so forth. And I think this is going to be a pretty big deal. Maybe I'm wrong. I really don't know at this point. But so far, that way of thinking served me pretty good in the past. Hope it helps. God bless and have a great day.